Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another live session with the Hype Magazine. I'm your editor-in-chief, Dr. Jerry Doby. And today, I've got an amazing, dynamic personality by the name of Naturi Naughton-Lewis. She is an actress, singer, wife, mother, and dreamer. Best known for her roles in Power, Queens, Notorious, and Fame. But beyond her artistry, Naturi has become a powerful voice in financial empowerment through Progressive's Recipe for Home Ownership program. And her story reflects courage, patience, and purpose. From buying her first home as a single mom to now building a legacy with her husband, Naturi reminds us that home ownership isn't a race, it's a journey of pacing yourself, facing fears, and preparing mentally, emotionally, and financially. Today, she's going to share some of her lessons, and by doing so, she's going to be lighting the path for others to achieve the dreams of stability, equity, and generational wealth. Welcome, Naturi. Appreciate you.
Oh, thank you so much for an awesome introduction. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. So, I got a chance to view an interview session that you did with some of the other participants in this program. And
Mm.
you, in particular, said that home ownership is a journey, not a race. What helped you learn to pace yourself and not feel pressured to have it
Yeah.
all figured out overnight?
Yeah, I mean, just realizing that it's okay if you don't have it all figured out overnight. And I think pacing yourself is also helpful in making the right decision. Sometimes when we rush or we do things under pressure, we make the decision and you might have buyer's remorse. So I think I made sure that you're ready. I think that one has to be ready for the financial commitment to make to purchase a home, but then the emotional mental connection to knowing like, okay, we up there with the big dogs. It's not like paying rent. You're gonna have a mortgage. You're gonna build your legacy and hopefully have something to keep in your family potentially one day, or even for resale value, and use it as investment. So I think the journey part is where you have to mentally tell yourself, this may not happen overnight, or I may not find the perfect home, just like that. But when you do, that is worth the wait and it's worth the patience. So I think I just told myself in the beginning, like, don't compare yourself to other people, and don't look at maybe, oh, because I'm 35, I'm supposed to have this, or because of my other friends have, this already set up, they already on their third house. You just worry about you being on your journey and your path. And I think that's what's helpful.
I think that's a great way to look at it. Um, Community and support were central in your story. Now, we all know that as you level up, climbing Jacob's ladder, the people around you say, oh, well, why are you buying this house? Or why are you buying that house? Or why are you doing
Mm.
that? It's important. What I understood from your story is important to surround yourself with people who actually are celebrating your win with you during the process. Talk to me about that.
Oh my gosh, that's so perfectly said. It is important to surround yourself with people who are celebrating your win. And I think that's like a life thing in all areas. Honestly, it's not just about buying a home. It's about anything, whether it be your wedding, you're having your children, or you getting a new job opportunity. So if you apply that in life, you should apply it to buying your home too. Because some people may look at your home journey and they may have envy or jealousy that you are even able to buy a home. Some people feel trapped by only living in an apartment, or they wish they could do what you're doing. And that's just, to be completely honest, you can't have that kind of energy around you, because what they do is to create seeds of doubt in your mind. Some people are positioned in your life or in your home journey to tell you, are you sure you want to do that? Now, how you gonna pay this mortgage? And are you really gonna be able to buy that house? Because you ain't got that kind of money, do you?
Right.
And think comments like that. So being around people, and my father, may he rest, he always said he was the first in his family and generations, the first generation to buy. a house in in New Jersey with my mother. And when I was about 2 years old, I grew up in a house, but it was almost unheard of. This Caribbean Brooklyn boy was able to buy a house. And I remember him telling that story that his own sister and family members were like, you're not going to be able to, you don't want to lose the house. And you sure? Because, then they're going to reset. They tell you all the negative things, unfortunately, that could happen. And they tell you maybe what pitfalls, as opposed to saying, okay, there are some warnings. There are some things I want you to be careful about, paying your taxes, make sure you have an emergency fund, make sure you are planning in advance and, making sure you're building equity in your home and putting things into it to keep it valuable. Tell you those things, but then also give you the tools to support you. So I think, community support, people celebrating your win, to your question, is so important, because if you don't, you might make a decision to just say, you know what, maybe they're right. I'm not going to do it because I don't want to be embarrassed if I can't keep this up, or I don't want to fail. And I think you have to release that need to please those people and just please yourself.
Hmm. And then, of course, everybody, well, that I know of in my community, that we worried about, I knew you weren't going to be able to do it, or there's going to be some negative nonsense. And then,
Oh yeah. Yeah, see, I told you not to. It's always I told you so's, or I knew that was gonna be too much for you.
hmm
And even if you do have a setback, and I encourage homeowners, even if you do have moments when you realize, okay, this might have been out of my budget, or I thought I could do it, or your circumstances, your job might change, your finances might change. Life is ever evolving and moving in different directions. So you have to adapt, but
hmm
never apologize for your desire to level up.
uh,
Never apologize for that. Just go ahead and do it.
that's what I'm talking about. Kind of like a marriage or a major position change in your career, buying a home, you built up the credit, you've got your down payment, you've done all the paperwork, but imposter syndrome can kind of creep in there. Do I
And
really
it's
need
hard. It's
a
like a
home?
lot of steps to this process, y'all.
That part, but it takes a lot of courage to
Yes.
buy your first home. How did you overcome the fear? And what advice do you give others, or would you give others who
Mhm.
might feel the same kind of hesitation or intimidation
Yeah.
about taking that step?
Because I honestly did feel a lot of fear. That was a big thing for me, because even though I grew up in a house, my parents, owned a home, my grandparents, and, so I remember shooting my, I think, third season of Power. And I was renting, I was subletting, I was spending more money on other people's apartments than I was on what I would have if I had a mortgage. So I was just like, this is getting ridiculous. I'm paying somebody else's mortgage plus 10%. Um, so I think, that was a realization where I was like, am I doing the best with my money, first off? But I think the other fear is like how deeply these people dig into your life and finances, the underwriting, the banks, the approval process to get a loan. It it can be daunting. I'll say that. It can definitely feel like that's a lot. And it's invasive and it's scary. And I think I was on my show, I was working, but I was single. I wasn't married. I definitely, didn't have like the typical 9 to 5 job with pay stubs. I'm an actress, so you make money maybe sometimes in one stretch, and then you might not work for another 6 months. So I think that was also challenging for me in trying to buy my first home, because I was trying to prove that I was reliable and that I was, good for it, right? So that was hard. And I think the fear part was really just like I didn't know if I could get through the mental stamina.
Mhm.
I was afraid not only that I wouldn't get approved, or I wouldn't get the amount, or I couldn't get the house, but I was just like, well, when I get the house, the biggest question that people need to ask themselves, how do you keep the house? you
Mm,
know? And I think that fear, which is really false evidence of things appearing real, of everything appearing real. So And in that conversation that I had, with the other ladies through Progressive, I got a chance to really even analyze my own fear in buying, a home. And I've bought other homes since, and every time it gives you a little anxiety. Every time I get a little nervous because it is a very, I think, invasive process. But once you understand, like, all right, I know I'm gonna have to just reveal every, go through this, prepare yourself. That's what I would say. Prepare yourself to be dug into.
Mm,
Prepare yourself for, those natural feelings of nervousness. Like that's okay to be nervous, anxious, all those things. But the fear, when it starts to become more real than your goal,
mm,
is when you really need to push that aside, because that's what people start outweighing. They put fear over their goal. And it's like, I'm afraid. I was afraid to become a singer and actress, and doing my first movie playing Little Kim in Notorious was a fearful job.
understood.
But the goal to be an actress and do well outweighed the fear. So I would encourage everyone out there, like I had to do, is just say, F it,
Hey, there it is. Oh,
Hey,
we
you gotta,
adults. You
you,
can say
you
what you
gotta,
need to say the way
I
you need to
mean,
say
I'm
it. It's
just
all
saying,
good.
you
All
gotta,
right.
you gotta go for it, and go big or go home. So I think I would tell people it's okay to have, feelings, anxiousness, nervousness, but do not let the fear of losing or missing out or something, don't let that fear outweigh your goal,
Mm,
and just go forward. And I think make sure you have your papers in order, make sure you ask a lot of questions. You can talk to people beforehand, whether it be a financial advisor, banking, your banker, just figuring out like, what do I really need, so that you know what your checklist is. I think if you devise your checklist of this is what I have, and maybe some things that you still don't have yet, go through them and start working on, okay, my credit, I need to get my credit situated. That's affecting, the kind of loan I can get or the percentage. Okay, let me work on that. So I just think overall, try to give yourself a chance instead of talking yourself out of your chance.
okay. Earlier on, you mentioned equity, and in that uh statement, what I understood you to be saying is that you kind of had, to reframe your mindset and realize that every rent check could have been equity. So, can you talk to me
Mm-hmm.
about how that shift changed your approach to ownership?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me know that if I can pay this rent, I can pay a mortgage. If I can basically be paying for a furnished one-bedroom apartment, which is more than what I would be paying for a two-bedroom that I would own, it started to make me think like, wait a minute, so I can get more bang for my buck. And I can also have this and say that I own it. It started, making me think when I first moved to New York for Power, my show on Stars, when I was first doing season one, I was subletting a fully furnished one bedroom, very small apartment in downtown Brooklyn for
Hmm.
3750. I was paying, this was back in 2000 and
Ouch.
maybe like 13.
Uh,
This was many years ago, over 10 years ago. So maybe 2014. I moved to Brooklyn and I was like, that's what people, and it was just a bed, a couch. It wasn't nothing, it was a nice building, but it was 3750, right? Now, I did that for an entire season. And I started to really, when you start writing things down on paper and seeing it with a calculator, how
mm,
much money you put in just that other person's pocket and what you could have been putting in equity in your own home, that's when it hits you like, wake up, Naturi, wake up and smell the coffee.
that
So
part.
that 3750, and then I started looking like, I wonder how much it would be for a one bedroom, apartment of my own. And then I looked up a two bedroom and saw like what, depending on the rate, what my mortgage would be. And it was less than 3750.
Mm,
I was like, now if I can get something for 3,200 or 3,000 or 35, whatever that is based on your budget, it allowed me to feel that it was possible. While I was paying all that in rent, I started to realize, okay, if I can do this consistently here, I can do it and work towards my ownership
Mm,
and having equity in my own home, or condo or whatever it is. So I think that was the moment when I started putting pen to paper, calculating how much money I was putting into someone else's apartment with nothing that I had personalized myself. I started to realize like it's time for me to change the game a little bit.
no doubt, no doubt. I was listening to your recipe for home ownership segment,
Hmm.
and you
Hmm.
tapped in and you highlighted how partnership equals power.
Mm,
So how did purchasing your home with your husband feel different from navigating the process alone?
mm.
Less angst or
Yeah. I mean, it's still stressful, but partnership does equal power. It's funny. Like, I love the way you said that. I was like, I said that. I'm glad, I'm glad I did because that's how I really feel. The angst that I felt doing it alone was like heightened.
Mm,
Now, when I have now years later, we have, our children, we have a house in New York, and I felt a sense of covering, a sense of safety, a sense of support. When we're going to do this together, it really does create a powerful feeling within yourself. Obviously, it's still gonna feel invasive, it's still anxious, it's still a lot of steps and elements, even when you do have partnerships. So I don't want people to think, oh, I got a partner, it's gonna be easy. Nobody said it was gonna be easy.
mm.
But what I will say is that with partnership, you can drive your goal together. You can push towards your goal together and more efficiently, more effectively, possibly even, easier if you have that. So I think, and knowing, okay, we have two people, two incomes, and the way that you're treated when you do, go through the loan process is different because when you're alone, they're like, well, who's gonna be the backup plan? Like who gonna make sure if you don't do. So I think having someone to lean on and vice versa is what makes the powerful partnership work.
Okay.
Having someone to lean on.
I want to make sure that we highlight this is not about a woman needing a partner
No.
to buy a house. I want to say that
Oh, I mean, it
this
goes
is,
both
this
ways.
everybody. It's going to be better. You're not worrying about it by yourself. You have someone to run your ideas by. Not only, I'm married 22 years, and she's,
Oh, wow. Congrats. That's
hey,
amazing.
I love it. You know,
Beautiful.
and she drugged me to 20, 30 houses at a time, and it increased my angst because I'm like, I like something about everything. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we got to boil it down. But I'm gonna shut up now and get out your way, wifey, and you're gonna tell me where we're going to live. And
Mm.
so that made it easier for me to move.
Okay.
You know, um,
Yeah.
you know.
That's
So
awesome.
hey, I take your wins where you can, take your help where you can.
I love it.
Financial transparency, big, big topic within our communities, and specifically since we're geared towards melanated people. uh,
Mm-hmm.
in this program, it's not, financial conversations are not our kitchen table conversations.
No.
Um, so as you're going through this process, not only, you know, being open and honest with the people who are invading your space already, but and you said when I started writing this down, right? So financial transparency with yourself and your partner, you know, um, is important. Could you address how that is even more important and powerful within the Black communities?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think definitely within the Black community, we have to take away the stigma or the taboo of talking about, our finances in general, good or bad. People don't want to talk about it if they're bad. People don't want to talk about it if they're good because they're scared you're going to think you got too much money. And then if you don't have enough money. So I think in the Black community, what we can do is start teaching our children about financial literacy and financial wellness and just how to buy a home. These can be, little kid appropriate versions of that process in a book form or watching a little video about like this is what it takes. I think creating less fear and stigma or taboo about our finances in the Black community can help by way of going through our children,
Mm,
because it may not fix itself in this generation, but you're going to have to start fixing it in the next generations to come. So
mm,
I think that if our children approach home ownership or financial transparency with less fear and more openness, and they're like, yeah, this is what I'm doing, this what, and in their partnerships, maybe they will approach things different, because I think, unfortunately, Black and brown people, we have our own struggles in the financial space, and we weren't taught how to navigate this. It's not like buying a home was everybody's dinner table discussion.
that part.
And I think because we're finally starting to have that now, and conversations, we have to do more, maybe, panels, do more workshops, do more classes on just this. Like, I think if we as Black people created more of a open dialogue about it, like, I'm having some issues with my credit, my finances aren't where I want it to be. Be honest about it. And then that honesty may allow someone to help you,
That part. That part.
because I think that honesty is what we need so that we can actually grow together.
Mm,
And I think that if we do more things like that, maybe people will start feeling less judged
mm,
and more supported.
mm. In recent times, the Black and brown communities, independent communities, have resurged to the surface of history. We're talking about, Nicodemus in Kansas, 5 Points in Denver. Of course, we're talking about the tragedies in Tulsa and New York and places. Um, you've described homeownership as a cultural milestone tied
Mhm.
to legacy and generational wealth.
Mhm.
Things that were destroyed in the history, and people going, I don't want to do that because they're going to just, bury us under another swimming pool or something like that. But
Mm.
how do you hope your story inspires others to see ownership as more than just a transaction?
Mm. Oh, how do I think my story inspires others in more than just a
Yeah.
transaction? I think, I hope that my story gives people the permission to want more for themselves. I hope that even me sharing everything I've shared today gives people the authority to feel that they are worthy,
Mm,
because half of it, I think even within myself, was I deserve to have this kind of wealth and legacy and financial, like, growth and all that. So it's almost like you have to first tell yourself in your mind, I am worthy. I
mm,
deserve this. Why should I not have a home? Why should my children not have multiple homes? Why should we not invest in ourselves and, our family? So I think that I would definitely say to that, I hope that my sharing, that my story is also giving you license
mm,
and permission to want the home of your dreams, because you deserve it, okay? You deserve to have something that can build wealth and legacy. So I think once you got that part, you can activate the other part. The execution of what I need, the finances, the credit, the paper, the underwriting, the bank, getting the loan, all of those steps. And then, with progressives, giving people this recipe. And that's why that conversation was so moving for me, because I think, obviously with home ownership and then your home insurance and making sure that you have all of the elements to keeping the home. You don't want to just buy a home and then lose the home. So I think that that was one of the things that I loved about our progressive conversation. And even now, I just want people to know that they deserve it. And then once you figure that out, Now you got to figure out the steps to keep it.
Mm,
So I want my story to inspire people. Don't just be hasty and try to be leveling up just to say I leveled up.
mm,
Do it because it's the time for you in your life. Do it because you actually believe that it's sustainable
mm,
and that you can do it. Don't try to buy outside of your budget or outside of your means. Do get something that you can maintain and feel happy and proud of, and do keep it, as a wealth builder, something that either you use for family, friends, or live in or sell or whatever you decide to do. I just hope that my story inspires people to recognize that you deserve to have that and don't ever apologize for wanting more.
okay, okay. So let's get down to some nuts and bolts real quick. Financial readiness, checking your credit, knowing where you are, understanding your budget. Let's not get ghetto fabulous and say, I'm going to go get the mansion. If you're on a Volkswagen budget, buy a Volkswagen, don't buy the Cadillac.
I know that's right. Tell them.
You know what I mean?
Preach.
I
Because a
also,
lot of times in our communities, I'd say, especially amongst the people I know and my, black friends and people, everybody, you're trying to prove to somebody else, oh, I got it, like, oh, look what I got, that you can do it. But
mm,
in effort to prove to somebody else something could put you in a really tough position to even survive.
mm,
Because you still have to, calculate and accommodate for expenses and things that go wrong in the house and things that need fixing in the house. So remember to stay within your means because that will stress you out.
mm. One of the things that as I was doing my research, I never thought about like non-traditional credit options. Where now your rent reporting and your cell phone bills and your gas bill now can become part of your credit history, yeah, a self-reported credit history.
Mm.
Were there some other things that you found out you were surprised, like, oh, I didn't know that counted in my favor as you were moving forward?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, some of that I definitely didn't know, and maybe at that time I didn't have a lot of different things like like what you just named, gas, and I didn't
Mm,
have a lot of credit. So that was another thing. You have this misconception: if I don't get credit, if I don't have any, maybe that's good. But then I had this misconception, I should be okay, but it actually was bad because I didn't have anything to show
mm,
that I actually had been building credit. So I think, yeah, I learned in my case, not so much that I was surprised by what worked in my favor. I was more surprised to learn that by not having enough credit or not utilizing credit throughout my life was actually a downside. And I had to start building credit and not be afraid to have credit purchases.
okay. Y'all heard her. Don't be scared.
Mhm.
Be responsible though, and
Amen.
understand that
For sure.
every move that you make, every late payment, every missed payment, it hurts you. So be responsible. Don't live outside your means as you're preparing to do this. Remember like the house, it has a foundation, so does your credit, so does your financial ability and
Hmm.
credit worthiness have a foundation. Build on those bricks and stay within a foundation. All right. So um I was real interested in your perspective about uh, writing your own story to yourself in through tools like a letter of explanation. How empowering was it to use your voice in the process, even when facing financial hurdles?
What are you referring to? Letters? I don't know what you mean.
There's a tool called letter of explanation where you're explaining to yourself,
Oh,
the process and you
got it.
spoke on that in during the segment that
Okay,
you use that.
got it.
Was it like journaling?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Um, I love to journal and stuff like that. I guess maybe just writing things down. I'm a big fan of. And, whether it be writing yourself a letter of explanation or making notes or going, because you can always go back and look at what you wrote and just see growth, see change, see where you can do better. So I'm a big fan of just writing things down because that's how you keep track. So I think Yeah, for me, I guess it's helpful, and it can definitely help you see your goals clearly. So for sure.
You're moderating a conversation with yourself on paper.
Yeah,
That's kind
for
of
sure.
that's
That's
kind of
that's exactly right.
okay. Final official question, now that you're in your home, you've had multiple, you've got, one single as a single mother and now also with your husband. How do you approach maintaining and building value, whether through budgeting, creating an emergency fund, as you mentioned earlier, or strategic renovations for something that you have as you're looking for it to be an investment property as opposed to
Hmm.
your forever?
Yeah, like now my first home that, is now for investment, which I rent out at a much higher rate because New York City is crazy. But that first home that I got as an apartment when I was single, strategic renovations is big for me. Even in me and my husband's home, we before we even, got in, we did ton of renovations,
Mhm,
which really did raise the value of the home already.
mhm,
I think that, outside of the emergency fund and, all the things that you can do, trying to make sure that if there is, a better resale value that you can achieve, do it.
mhm,
If you can, strategically add certain elements, whether it be to adding a bathroom, bedrooms, changing, an office space that can transition into an office slash bedroom or a kitchen. We did key things because you don't have to do everything and you don't have to do everything at once.
mhm.
But what you can do is figure out, okay, what will make this home appreciate and value, and what can I realistically afford to pour into it at this time, especially after purchasing. Sometimes you can't do renovations because you have to stay within your budget. So budgeting appropriately, but then I'm a fan of strategic renovations so that when the time on my other property, if I decide to sell or even renting, I can get more for that property now because I have been so intentional about what I did to raise the value or keep it up or whatever. So you want to make sure that you do those things if you can. Don't feel pressure to do it, immediately or all at once. But I do think that it is helpful in the long run. And that's something that I personally am a fan of because I want to get it together so that if this isn't my forever home, or even if it is, you still want to give it a chance to have better resale value.
Beautiful thing. I appreciate you. Look, folks out here in the melanated world, once again,
Mm,
in this series, we are highlighting three melanated women who are taking leadership and bringing home ownership opportunities to the people.
amen.
You
And
know,
it's so important.
yeah,
And to everyone out there listening, you can do this. You can do this. You have to, it will feel like you can. It will, sometimes even the people, the loan community, like they will push you to give up
mm,
because they want you to say, especially as Black and brown people, we're not often encouraged to do that. So do not give up. Do not allow people to create a sense of doubt. And I'll leave you with just final words of saying, you can do this. And if you believe that in your gut, I assure you, you will do it. So don't give up on yourself.
don't give up on yourself. And through Progressive Insurance Recipe for Home Ownership, there are some amazing tools that I checked out. They've got
Oh, for sure.
down payment assistance up to like 13 grand, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a budget calculator. It can help. They have tools and resources that I didn't know I would have needed and I would have loved to have had.
I
So
know I should have called Progressive when I was buying my first home.
you heard me.
I didn't know I mean, I didn't know a lot of this even was at our disposal. So you're absolutely right.
Mhm. So check it out. Um, Naturi, I really appreciate you for anchoring this
Thank
three-part
you.
interview series based on the Progressive Insurance Recipe for Home Ownership. Brought so much added value, and there's no other way to close it out but by saying thank you and the other ladies for the leadership.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes, and thank you, Jerry, for asking such thoughtful questions and letting the people know the truth. you kept it all the way real. So thank you for your time.
All right, I appreciate it. Was there anything you wanted to cover that I may have neglected?
Um, Wow. Well, you did not neglect anything. You were very thorough. I again, I think only thing I would say is just make sure that you give yourself permission to be happy. Give yourself permission to want more. Give yourself permission to own a home of your choice. Give yourself the license to say, I deserve this, and don't let anybody stop you.
Amazing inspiration. Naturi
Thank you.
Naughton-Lewis, thank you so much. Progressive Insurance, thank you so much for being a great community citizen, a corporate citizen within the community, and offering these opportunities and bringing on these very powerful ladies
Yeah.
to do the thing.
Thank you.
Love your work.
Thank you.
Looking forward to more, and
All right.
we'll take care.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Thank you. Thank you guys for the time. And
As an artist, we should reflect the time.
Why you so talented?
Cause I'm black.
Why you so amazing?
Cause I'm black.
Really important that we build characters so that people understand their story matters.
2 Chainz and I both are just really into good food.
And when you know you are royalty, you will only aim in life to be royalty.
We're doing it right now. I don't give a damn what they say about me. Yes, I called your ass out. I know I shouldn't be saying this kind of.
Shout out the Hype Magazine Network.
Shout out to the Hype Magazine Network.